Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chinera Wim, and in this channel I bring to you tips, wisdom, keys, business opportunities, job opportunities, ideas, information, and everything that you need in order to prosper and thrive in the United Arab Emirates. So in this particular video, I'm going to be talking all about banking. I'm going to be describing what it takes for you to open a bank account in the UAE. I'm going to be talking about the different kinds of banks. There are 4 categories of banks in the United Arab Emirates, and I'm going to be describing what they do. Then I'm going to be telling you what it takes, what it requires for you to open an account in the UAE. So without wasting much time, I want to say this, that if you're a non-resident in the UAE, the law in the United Arab Emirates requires that for you to open an account in the United Arab Emirates as a non-resident, you have to be physically present in order to verify your documents and in order to prove that those documents that you're presenting actually represent you. So that's an important requirement. You just have to be physically present. So maybe you may have to just travel for a holiday, and then while you're in the UAE as a non-resident, you would now have to get your bank account opened. Peradventure, you want to open a bank account in the UAE. Now, note this. If you're a non-resident, meaning you don't live in the United Arab Emirates, and you want to open a bank account, the only kind of bank account you can open is a savings account. You cannot open a current account. So that means you will only have a savings account available to you as a non-resident, and you'll be given an ATM card, but you will not have a checkbook. So that's just the little caveat for non-residents. Another thing also to note is, when it comes to the fact that if you're a non-resident trying to open an account in the UAE, that you must physically be present in the bank, that particular clause, which is available by law in the UAE, can actually have a little twist to it or a little exception to it, only if you are banking with international banks that have branches in the UAE. For example, HSBC Bank or Citibank. These are known international banks, and peradventure you're not able to come to the UAE to open the bank account, you can go to the local branch in your country if you have an account in the Citibank or you have an account in the HSBC Bank, and then inform them that you intend to open an account in the similar banks in the branches in Dubai or the UAE. Then they can actually get financial officers to stand in for you as proxies. You may not necessarily now need to be physically present. So that's the only caveat, and this caveat doesn't work for all banks. This particular exemption is available for Citibank and HSBC Bank and some of these top international banks, but not all, that have branches in other parts of the world, and you probably having a bank account in those branches, wanting to now have a similar account in the same branch or same bank branch in the UAE, you no longer necessarily need to be present physically in the United Arab Emirates. That's the only exemption. Otherwise, the UAE law requires that if you're not a resident in the United Arab Emirates and you want to open a bank account, you must be physically present. And remember, the only account available to you as a non-resident is the savings account. So that being said, if you're now actually a resident in the UAE, what then are the requirements that you need in order to open a bank account? I'm going to be talking about them in just a minute. But before I talk about them, let me share with you guys the 4 categories of banks that are available in the UAE as at now. The first one is commercial banks. Commercial banks are the normal ones we all know. Those are the ones that do the regular banking transactions. You can do your loans, you can pay your salaries, you can do all the works. Those normal transactions that every other person does. That's what we call the commercial bank category. The second category are the industrial banks. Industrial banks are banks which provide loans and facilities like that, especially for development purposes. So that's the real purpose of industrial banks. The third category of banks are what we call the merchant banks or the investment banks. Now, these are banks that predominantly deal in the buying and the selling of stocks. Buying and selling of stocks in the stock exchange. And then the last category of banks in the United Arab Emirates are Islamic banks. So all Islamic banks in the UAE basically operate based on the Sharia laws and dictates. So that's why they are called Islamic banks. That being said, how can you open a bank account as a resident in the United Arab Emirates? If you want to know how to open a bank account and the various requirements as a non-resident, check out this video I did. I talked about how a non-resident can open a bank account in the UAE. Somebody who doesn't live in the UAE can open a bank account in the UAE. So you can check out that video and learn all about that. But if you are a resident already in the United Arab Emirates, what are the requirements for you to open a bank account? Those requirements are as follows. You must have your passport with your UAE residency visa. Bring the original, and that original, a copy will be made of it. Secondly, you have to have your Emirates ID card, the original, and also a copy. Most of the time in the bank, a copy will be made of the original of both your passport and your Emirates ID. The third documentation you need is documentation of residency in the UAE. Something like a rental agreement or utility bill or letter of employment, something that actually shows and proves that you're really living and staying in the United Arab Emirates. You're going to need that. Then the fourth requirement that you would need is a salary letter from your employer, or an original trade license if you're self-employed, or your spouse's labor card or work ID if you are on your spouse's sponsorship. These are the documents that you're going to be needing in order to open a bank account if you're a resident in the UAE. So setting up an account in the UAE as a resident is basically easy, and if you have all your documentation ready and submitted, you probably can get your account up and running in a few hours. And some people who don't even want to leave their houses to go to the bank and do all that gamut, certain banks offer opportunity for people that are working in the offices, like bank staff, to make house calls. So they can call you, come to the house, pick up all those documentations, and help you in setting up your bank account as a resident in the United Arab Emirates. So I really hope this video was informative and helpful. If you like what you heard and it had some value that it added to you, you could always click the like button, because it helps to boost the algorithm to more people. And if you like the kind of content that I bring in this channel, all about things that you need in order to prosper in the UAE, ideas, opportunities, information, wisdom keys, and stuff like that, you can consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed, and also click the notification bell while you're at it so that you can get to know about all the videos that are coming out on this channel when they do come out. Thank you so much for staying up until now. See you in the next video, and I super celebrate you.